On this week's edition of the Newscast, some teens raised thousands of dollars for a graduation trip, but decided to do something different with the graduation trip money instead. I'm Grantham Ray, and we'll have that story coming up.
Partly cloudy skies continues for the weekend, plus the return of daily rain chances. I'm Nathan Torres, and I'll have further details in this week's weather forecast.
Also on this week's trip through the Newscast archives, Brian Bookout has a report on how you can prepare your kids for school. I'm Jacob PYLE.
And I'm JACQUELINE. These stories and a whole lot more can be seen this week on the edition of Newscast for July 31st, 2021.
The Newscast is sponsored by Ron's Town Car and Taxi Service, serving Howard and Tipton counties. If you need a ride, call us at 317-385-0005. Your hosts on the Newscast are Jacqueline LOBDELL and Jacob PYLE.
Thank you, Steve Jeffries. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Newscast. I'm glad you guys could join us. The one thing most graduating students look forward to every year is the senior trip. They put in a lot of hard work in throughout the year to raise money to go towards their trip. But as in one case with a local high school, they ended up having to cancel the graduation trip due to a COVID-19 travel restrictions. Jacob?
Yes, Jacqueline. The class of 2021 that year raised up a substantial amount of money for the trip. And what they do with that money next might surprise you. So, here to tell us how these teens made the best out of a bad situation is Newscast contributor Grantham Ray.
Thank you, Jacob. If you had the choice of seeing the world by going on a trip or bettering the world by staying home and focusing all your energies there, which one would it be? For the youthful kindred spirits of one Maine community, the answer was obvious. The island of Islas Burrows lies 3 miles off the mainland. Its population numbers about 700 full-time residents, while comprised of only a baker's dozen of students. This year's high school graduating class, 8 from the island and 5 who ferried in from the mainland, was larger than usual. Traditionally, Islas Burrows Central School seniors held fundraising events to finance a one-in-a-lifetime class trip at the end of their final semester. Former student destinations include Paris, Iceland, Norway, and Panama. The class of 2021 had already garnered up close to $8,000 in donations by the time their hopes of a journey to Greece, Japan, or South Korea was squashed by COVID-19 travel restrictions. With their plans curdled, the group decided to spend the money they'd earned a whole lot closer to home by reinvesting it in their community. As 18-year-old senior Leafy Temples explained, per group consensus, it would have felt strange to include in the luxury of foreign travel when they knew their neighbors were suffering such extreme day-to-day duress. We could really see how the whole world and the island, too, was struggling. He told the Associated Press, so it felt really good to do something with our money, to give it back. The bulk of students' earnings was donated to the Island Community Fund in aid of residents whose livelihood was broadsided by the COVID-19 pandemic. Another portion was put to good use funding coronavirus vaccination clinics. There is a strong sense of pride in these students. That's because their decision demonstrated an awareness of the hardships in their communities and a willingness to do something about it. Community Fund President Fred Thomas told AP the geography of the post-COVID-19 landscape has shifted. Not literally, of course, but figuratively. We're all living in a very different place from where we were prior to the onset of the pandemic. How we choose to move forward in this strange new world will define the days ahead. But if the unselfish worldview of the Islas Burrows senior class of 2021 is any indication, the future looks to be in pretty fine hands. For the Newscast, I'm Grantham Ray.
Thank you, Grantham, for the report. And incidentally, that was a nice thing of those teens to do to help out the community in that way. Hopefully by next year, the next graduating class will be able to go on their trip. Stay tuned 1 year from now and we'll have that answer for you. But for right now, it's time for our look through our community calendar with the legendary Tony Hernandez.
Thank you, Jacob. Hello, everybody. Here's the latest on all events happening in Kokomo this week. Tonight will be Brews on Buckeye, which is Kokomo's only craft beer and craft spirits festival that celebrates all the tasty treats that the great Hoosier State has to offer. The event will take place on Buckeye Street in downtown Kokomo. VIP admission will take place at 5. General admission will take place at 6. And for ticket info, visit the Brews on Buckeye event page on Facebook. There'll be music at the Howard County Fairgrounds in front of the community building in Greentown on August 5th, beginning at 7 p.m. Bring lawn chairs and enjoy some good music. This week, they'll be featuring some rock and roll music with the band Past Time. In case of inclement weather, the event will be moved over to the cattle barn at the fairgrounds. And due to highway construction, please take 100 South or 100 North if you're coming from Kokomo. The event is free. On August 6th, come on out to First Friday, the Great Kokomo Treasure Hunt. The event will take place in downtown Kokomo. Admission is free. There'll be an arts-based open house of the downtown district between 5:30 and 9 p.m. Plus, hunt for geocaches and find hidden treasures at downtown businesses during this fun community treasure hunt. For more details, visit First Friday Kokomo on Facebook. I'm Tony Hernandez, and that is your look inside the community calendar for this week.
Thank you, Tony. And now it's time for our weather with our rain and shine storm, Nathan Torres.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Hello, everyone. I hope you've had a chance to get out of the house and enjoy this beautiful weather that we've been having. Well, it has been muggy for the most part. We've been dealing with the sun and clouds all week, which is the good news. And the trend is going to continue for the majority of the weekend. My forecast for today calls for mixed clouds with sunshine, high of 87 degrees. And a low of 66 degrees. If you have any outdoor plans, I urge you to wear sunscreen and drink plenty of fluids. Tomorrow, on the other hand, make sure you have your rain gear on you because we will have partly cloudy to mostly cloudy skies and scattered thunderstorms in the morning with a high of 81 degrees and a low of 65 degrees. Looking into the week ahead, we will have partly cloudy skies for Monday, daily chances of rain on Tuesday afternoon, and then we'll continue that into Wednesday and Thursday of next week. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week, whatever you do. I'm Nathan Torres, and that's today's weather.
Thanks, Nathan. Still to come on the second half of the newscast, I will have an interview with actress and entrepreneur Madeline Blair.
Plus, in this week's newscast archives, segments from 2013, former newscaster contributor Brian Bookout talks about getting ready for your first day of school. We will be back with the second half of Newscaster after this word from our sponsor.
Hey guys, come take a ride with us. You'll be impressed. We got very reasonable rates. We're fully insured, licensed, reliable. Our hours of operation are Monday through Sunday, 6 a.m. to midnight. Give us a call for all your transportation needs in the Howard and Tipton County areas. We'd love to serve you.
On this day, July 31st, 1879, the first cable connection between South Africa and Europe is laid by the British electrical engineer Charles Tilson Bright as part of his project to link the British Empire with growing telecommunications technologies. Once again, here's Jacob.
Welcome back to the second half of the newscast. It's time for this week's special guest interview segment. And our special guest this week is an actress and entrepreneur of a knitwear business. Plus, she has a self-poetry book out entitled, and I hope I'm pronouncing the name of the book right, and if I don't, I apologize. But the name of the book is entitled Halcyon. Would you please help me in welcoming to the newscast this week, Madeline Blair. Madeline, welcome to the newscast.
Thank you.
Go go ahead and tell us a little something about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Madeline Blair. That actually is a nom de plume. It's a stage name that I chose. My first name really is Madeline, but Blair is a family name that I chose because I think it sounds nicer than my real last name, so I use that for my acting and my writing stuff. I'm a college student, and I am a poet, and I run a knitwear business, and I'm trying to get into acting, and I've been playing flute like my whole life, so I've really just become the jack of all trades recently.
Now, it says on my card that you have a self-published poetry book and a knitwear business. Tell us about those things.
Yeah, so I began writing poetry back in high school, and I didn't really know much about it. It wasn't really, it was more of like a hobby for me, but then I decided to, when I was applying for colleges, start majoring in creative writing, and once I took my first poetry class, I got a lot better at writing poetry, of course, and that's when I decided I wanted to publish a book because I had like a bunch of stuff that I'd written. So over the course of 2 semesters, my freshman year, I decided to take time and start like putting it together and stuff. And it took about a year for me to get it all together and decide to self-publish it. I didn't want to go through like a small publisher just because I was kind of impatient and I wanted to just get it out myself. And I knew I had a lot of people who would be interested in buying it, and I wanted like full creative control. I actually have like a whole stack of copies. I just ordered more the other day. If you want me to show it, so this is the book. It's called
Absolutely.
Halcyon by Madeline Blair. And it's interesting because I and my best friend and my boyfriend all did like illustrations on the inside of the book. So we've got some illustrations every now and there, kind of hard to see, but it's really special. It's really fun. So that is what I was working on for a little while, and then my knitwear business came about after we had been in quarantine for probably like 6 months, I would say. It first came about in August 2020 because I had been knitting a lot of things during the pandemic, and I wanted to I thought I was good enough, so I decided to start designing things and selling them. And so I started that about almost exactly a year ago now. And it's actually really exciting. I have some big collaborations coming up with some I don't think I can say who yet, but very famous TikTok people. One of them has 1 million followers, and he's like a foodie sort of TikToker, but he also designs jackets for a living, so we did a collaboration. So I started to work my way up a little bit, and it's been really fun. So that's really the long-winded roundabout way of explaining both of those things.
Now, I understand you're trying to break into the acting business. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I did a lot of theater in high school, and for some reason, just the other week, I really got inspired to just start trying my hand at film acting. I did one student film back in high school, senior year, so I decided to try to start getting back into it now. And I live in a pretty decent city for that. I'm from Chicago, so just trying it out a little bit and seeing what happens. I've only gotten auditions so far, no roles just yet, but I literally started 2 weeks ago, so.
What would be your advice to all your fellow actors or actresses out there that might be interested in wanting to get into this type of business?
Yeah, I'd say a really good piece of advice to take into consideration is that you are going to get a lot of rejections or just no response at all before you book a role, especially a big role. There was this one role that I really wanted to be a part of through the DePaul University Film School, which is one of the 15th best in the state, or not the state, the country, excuse me. And I auditioned, I thought I did great, but they never got back to me, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get the role. So that kind of hurts, but that is the business, So you have to really be good at dealing with rejection and people just not getting back to you and stuff like that before you find something that someone really wants you for. And it does come eventually, but it could take a little while. So I'm even trying to take my own advice right now too and not be upset about it. But there's so many people auditioning for every single project and for every role that it's you can't pick everybody. So I just gotta keep that in mind.
Now, before we go, where can we purchase your book?
I actually am selling it in 2 places. The first place is on my own website, and my website is msblairpoetry.com, which is MsBlairpoetry.com. So I'm selling it myself on there, and I also actually am selling it at a bookstore in Chicago now called Quimby's Bookstore in Wicker Park, which is very exciting. We've got some limited copies there, so it's kind of interesting to have it in a real bookstore in a real place. It makes it feel a lot more real. So those are the two places you can get it for right now.
Alright, Madeline Blair, ladies and gentlemen, keep us posted, and thank you for joining us this week.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is awesome. Have a great rest
You're
of your
welcome.
day.
Jacqueline?
Thanks, Jacob. Well, it's that time of year again. It's time for the kids to be back to where they need to be. The younger kids to go back to school, and the older kids to go back to college. But how does it feel to go back to school after a few months of vacation? For the grads, I should ask, how does it feel to split up with your friends that you're so used to being able to see, and now you guys are going on in your own direction? And for the people that are already attending college classes, how does it feel to go back to college? Well, with all that in consideration, this week's Newscast archive segments takes us back to 2013. When former Newscast contributor Brian Bookout did a report for all of you about what you should do to prepare your kids for school. Here from 2013 with that report for us is former Newscaster contributor Brian Bookout.
Although some of you might not notice this right away, your first day of your new school year is just around the corner. And I say that because some of you are probably thinking the summer vacation came and gone just like that. Well, it's true. School is going to be coming up in a few days, and we would like to give you a little something about how you can be able to prepare your kids for school. For starters, make sure your child has the proper materials that he or she needs, such as pencils, pens, a notebook for taking accurate notes. For the kids who is just starting school, it may be kind of hard to get them to a new place at first, but it will be worth it. For the seniors out there in the bunch, start doing your research on what college you would like to attend. And for the grads, pack your stuff and be ready for a fun time on campus. So there you have it, some tips on getting your kids prepared for school. It might be hard at first, but when you get the hang of it, the rest of your time in either school or college will be as easy as ABC. For Newscast, I'm Brian Bookout.
Thank you, Brian, for the report. If you are watching Newscast right now, wish you could be a guest on the Newscast, or maybe you have an idea or suggestion that you could submit to us for future episodes on the Newscaster? Well, it's easy, and here's Stephen Jeffries to tell you. How can you do it, Stephen?
If you want to be a special guest on the Newscast, or if you have any ideas or suggestions concerning future episodes of the Newscast, or if you want to purchase a DVD copy of any episode of the Newscast, send Jacob an email. His email address is jtpyle1@aol.com. Or if you prefer snail mail, send him a self-addressed stamped envelope to the Newscast, care of Pyle Media Ventures, 2241 West Jefferson Street, apartment A213, Kokomo, Indiana, 46901. If you're emailing about a DVD copy of the episode, please specify the program date seen on your screen. Once again, here's Jacqueline.
Thank you, Stephen. And now here to do a couple songs for you this week is our host and our co-producer of the Newscast, Jacob Pyle.
I'm gonna change my way of doing things around here. I'm turning over a new leaf, gonna get myself in gear. 'Cause I've got a woman who's better than most, and I've made a mess of her plans. Starting today, all I'm gonna be is her man. 'Cause I've been a wildcatter and a go-go-getter, been an idiot right down to the letter. I've had misadventures, I've even got pictures, I'm even more than I can stand. Starting today, all I'm gonna be is her man. I'm gonna give it all back, 'cause all I've done is take. I put her on the back burner while I was out on the make. But I've got a woman who's good enough to give me a second chance again. And starting today, all I'm gonna be is her man. 'Cause I've been a wildcatter and a go-go-getter, been an idiot right down to the letter. I've had misadventures, I've even got pictures, I'm even more than I can stand. But starting today, all I'm gonna be is her man. I'm a little bit late, but I'm wising up. Now I'm taking her by the hand. Starting today, all I'm gonna be is her man. Thank you. Thank you very much. This next song I'm going to be performing for you guys is an audience participation song. I'm going to ask Jacqueline LOBDELL, Grantham Ray, Nathan Torres, and Tony Hernandez to join us now and to help us sing the song.
I'd love to, Jacob.
Wait a minute. Grantham and Nathan, what's so funny?
Wait, I'm not singing, am I?
Oh, come on, you guys. You don't have to be good singers. But for the most part, yes. I'm going to be mostly singing the song, but there is a chorus that goes like this that you guys are going to sing with me. You guys ready?
I think so, Jacob. Sing it.
Okay. The chorus goes like this. You ready? Here we go. Oh blah dee, oh blah da, life goes on, la la la, the life goes on. Everybody, ready?
Sounds simple
Here we
enough.
go.
Obladea, life goes on, how the life goes on. All right, I'm going to sing the song, and I'll tell you guys when to come in. All right, you ready? Here we go. Desmond has a borrow in the marketplace. Molly is the singer in a band. Desmond says to Molly, girl, I like your face. And Molly says this as she takes him by the hand. Everybody, oh, life goes on. Life goes on. Desmond takes a trolley to the jeweler's store, buys a 20-karat golden ring, takes it back to Molly waiting at the door, and as he gives it to her, she begins to sing. Everybody, oh, life goes on. Life goes on. In a couple of years they have built a home sweet home, with a couple of kids running in the yard of Desmond and Molly Jones. Happy ever after in the marketplace. Desmond lets the children lend a hand. Molly stays at home and does her pretty face, and in the evening she still sings it with the band. Everybody, oh, life goes on. Life goes on. In a couple of years they have built a home sweet home, with a couple of kids running in the yard of Desmond and Molly Jones.
happy ever after in the marketplace. Molly lets the children lend a hand. Desmond stays at home and does his pretty face, and in the evening she's a singer with a band. Everybody, oh la la, life goes on. Life goes on. Yeah, life goes on. And if you want some fun, take O-blah-dee-la-da, yeah. Thank you very much.
Jacob PYLE, Grantham Ray, Nathan Toros, Tony Hernandez.
JACQUELINE LOBDELL.
Yes, and me. Thank you guys. That was fun.
Class dismissed.
Class dismissed. No. That sound actually means that we have ran out of time for this week's show. But, as always, before we go, we would like to thank our special guest, Madeline Blair, for stopping by this week.
On next week's edition of the Newscast, Mike Trash will have a report on a group of strangers who tracked down the writer who launched A Message in a Bottle over a century ago. That's coming up on next week's edition of the Newscast, and we'll see you then.
And with that, that's this week's edition of the Newscaster for July 31st, 2021. I'm Jacqueline Lobdell. Good night, Jake.
Good night, Jacqueline, and I'm Jacob PYLE. Jacqueline and I will be back with you next week, and until then, for all of us here at the Newscast, we thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. So long, everybody.
The Newscast is sponsored by Ron's Town Car and Taxi Service, serving Howard and Tipton counties. If you need a ride, call us at 317-385-0005. This is Steve Jeffries speaking. The Newscast is a PYLE Media Ventures presentation which is solely responsible for its content.